Hey guys, I'm Rodin. Welcome to WaterBaby Tarot presented by Bomispirit, home of the Bomispirit series and WaterBaby Tarot content. Today I'm going to be talking about the full moon in Pisces. Now, I was tempted to do this live. I used to do them live a lot and then I stopped doing that for a while. And I was like, should I do it live? And I'm like, no, I don't got the time because I actually have to go live on Patreon at 12:30 to do 12:30 Pacific to do the spreads for the full moon. So like I actually, if I had more time, I would have done it live. So maybe the next one I'll go back to doing these live. Anyway, so there's a lot of aspects going on with this full moon. It's a positive full moon. I'm going to say it's a really positive full moon. It all depends on your perspective. And of course, before we get into this, when it comes to astrology, you don't got to live your life by astrology or say, oh my God, all these bad things are going to happen because the stars say it will. It's a choice. It's just a choice. I tell you what's going on energetically. You decide how you want to use that to your benefit, okay? I do have about 3 pages of notes back to back, just a heads up. But anyway, lots of important stuff going on with this full moon in Pisces. Even from now until with the new moon in Virgo, we have a couple really important shifts and transits happening that I am going to get into. I'm also going to get into a little bit of Mars and outplays into the rest of 2020 for the collective anyway. So there's going to be a lot. So let's go ahead and just dive into it. So full moons in general are about bringing clarity and revelations and bringing things to the light, right? Well, the full moon being in Pisces, Pisces is 12th house energy. So this full moon is going to be very specific to resolutions, closures, wrap-ups. Why? Because it's 12th house energy. The 12th house is where we kind of resolve and close out anything that we've really been struggling with or dealing with through all the houses through a cycle, right? Excuse me. And we do this wrap up so we can like really learn our lessons, close on anything we need to close out so we can go back into the first house for a new cycle, okay? It's also the house of like isolation, love, intuition, higher consciousness, spirituality. It's almost like a void space is like Piscean energy is like the best way to describe it. So that's like the gist of this full moon, like super summarized. So when you're setting your intentions, set your intention according to where Pisces 10 degrees falls in your house. This full moon is happening at Pisces 10 degrees, September 1st at about 10:20 p.m. Pacific time. So for some of you, it's going to be on September 2nd, depending on where you are in the world. So of course, check your time zone. Anyway, so let's go back to intentions. So I do want to talk about like how to look at your houses because everything I'm going to say, because we have a lot of aspects, it's going to be really important you understand how to look at your houses, okay? So when I say houses, I mean houses. I don't mean your planets, I mean your houses. Look at your rising sign, right? It's like when you look up your chart, it's like usually has like where all your planets were where you were born, and then it has another chart where it has your rising sign and it says second house, third house, fourth house, all the way down to 12. And it usually has a sign and a degree placement associated with it. These are ranges, okay? So for example, if you are a Virgo rising, most likely Pisces 10 degrees will fall in your 7th house. But you have to look at your personal chart to know. I can't tell you for all of you. So for an example, because I've done this in like many other videos and I keep telling myself I'll do a video on it, but I really want to explain this for this one, okay? For example, if your 6th house is labeled as like Pisces 5 degrees, then Pisces 10 degrees falls in your 6th house because it's a range. So like whatever the 5th house is to the 6th house, that is the range for your 5th house, okay? So check your own charts for where you want to set your intention for this full moon. Again, check for where 10 degrees Pisces falls for you. If it's kind of like a border, you know, if it's like 9 degrees, 11 degrees, it's like then just account for both because no matter what, the moon's going to move anyway, but it's just peak energy we're trying to isolate on, okay? So there's that. Now, talking about the full moon in Pisces energy and what that's bringing, we're going to have peaks of intuition, visions, expansion, especially because the full moon's aspecting Uranus, which Uranus is also about higher consciousness, right? So just keep that in mind. We're going to have a lot of light shed on secrets. So secrets going to be coming up because Pisces also does that. We also have Pluto creating a lot of aspects as well, and it's a full moon. So secrets are going to be coming out, illusions are going to be shattered, especially wherever you've had Neptune transiting your houses. Again, knowing how to look at your houses, which again would be about Pisces 10 to 19 degrees. I say 10 to 19 degrees because the moon is in 10 degrees, Neptune is in 19 degrees in Pisces. So about 10 to 20 degrees or so, okay? So wherever Neptune's been transiting, where it's been creating a lot of illusions for you, those will most likely be shattered. And of course, you can always set the intention to have more clarity on the things you've been confused by when it comes to Neptune and where it's been transiting in your personal houses, okay? And illusions in general, set the intention for that. Uranus is also breakthrough energy. Like I said, it's aspecting the full moon. Set your intention to have the clarity that you need for stuff, okay? Okay, we're also gonna have a deeper sense of inner knowing that's gonna bring a calmness, which is like really nice with Piscean energy. Piscean energy is gonna like mellow us out a little bit before like things get a little insane again. Not like insane, but difficult. Where things get a little difficult and a little like tense. I'll say it that way, a little tense, and I'll explain why that is later. So Piscean energy, it is having that inner knowing, right? That's going to bring a sense of calm as things get crazy or you experience crazy from people around you, because you're just going to understand it more. You're going to have an understanding of where that shit's coming from, and it's not going to trigger you as much, okay? So that's always kind of nice. In general, like I kind of already said this, but just to reiterate, that's why I have notes. In general, Pisces energy is love, it's emotion, it's intuition, spirituality, isolation, illness, emotional and energetic sensitivity, okay? So you might even feel more sensitive to people and even more compassionate to people because you're gonna have this understanding about why they feel the way they feel or why they're flipping out the way they're flipping out, okay? Now, taking all the other accounts of the aspects going on, we've got a few major themes for this full moon. We have a theme of personal freedom versus control issues, okay? We're really gonna feel that. That's a really big one, and that's also gonna be with us for most of, it's so weird I was gonna say that, most of the rest of 2020. Sorry, a little Geminian right there. My Mars and Gemini is showing. Anyway, that's gonna be up through like December-ish, okay, where we're gonna have that theme, but it's gonna be really strong with this full moon in Pisces. Now we also have massive manifestation power this full moon, which is like making me very excited. We have a grand Earth trine. Trine is like, it forms a triangle. You can just think of it that way, just simplify it in your mind. When you have grand trines, they really aid manifestation because it's like an amplifying booster of positive energy when you have a trine aspect going on. And this is a grand trine between Virgo, Taurus, and Capricorn. I'm going to get into that later. Uranus plays a role in that. So it's going to be a major time to manifest right now. Okay. We also have a real shot at breaking some serious patterns and some cycles and bad habits, especially within relationships and how we relate to people. Okay. Also really cool stuff. And of course, health, depending on your houses. I will get into that, I promise. And also we're gonna have very fortunate, positive, lucky, feel good, unexpected meetings, encounters, even breakthroughs, even and inventions. It's like luck is gonna be on our side during this time, which is also gonna be really nice, but it is gonna be very unexpected, okay? How all this is gonna play out. All right, let's get into the aspects. After I get a sip. Give me a second. It was a coffee day today. So I want to talk about Uranus because Uranus is aspecting the full moon directly, which most of these other aspects are not. And it's a really strong aspect that Uranus is creating. It's exact, which means it's like they're both sitting at the same degree point. So Uranus is sextile the full moon at 10 degrees and trine the sun, Virgo, at 10 degrees. So for everything I'm going to talk about right now when it comes to Uranus, you're most likely going to feel this in the house aspect of your life where Taurus 10 degrees sits. That's where you're most likely going to feel it. Or where you have mutable energy at 10 degrees, which is Pisces and Virgo. And then you're going to feel that with Gemini and Sag, but mostly Pisces and Virgo, first and foremost Taurus. So I'm going to repeat that because get your notebooks out. I'm going to repeat this. What I'm about to say, you're really going to feel this in your house where you have 10 degrees Taurus, where that falls in your houses. Then you're also going to feel that, not as intensely, but then you'll also feel it with Pisces, Virgo, 10 degrees. And then you'll subtly feel it with Sag and Gemini, 10 degrees. Check your houses. And that's the other thing with astrology, especially with this full moon. This full moon's a really great example of how everything is so connected that you kind of feel it all over the place, more so in some areas than others that you want to focus on and pay attention to because the energy is stronger there, but everything is so connected, okay? But check your houses for those specific placements. to kind of understand where you're going to feel this the most, okay? All right, so with this Uranus aspect, we're going to get more of this freedom energy because it is Uranus, it's the rebel, it's independence, especially coupled with Mars and what Mars is doing. Mars is part of that whole creation of like freedom and authoritarian shit, which I'm going to get into later. But this is creating a higher demand of physical and emotional freedom from within our personal lives and within our communities and how we are with the government. It's just making us want to break away even more. And with the full moon part of this, like Pisces and the actual full moon, it's shedding light on how we can attain it, right? It's shedding more light on what we really want as far as our freedom is concerned and the best way to approach it. And of course, with Uranus and this Piscean romantic energy, we are going to have unexpected romantic meetings, encounters, and disclosures because a lot of hidden information is going to be coming to light with full moon Pisces, okay? So people might be confessing their feelings to you. You might be just suddenly confessing your feelings to someone. Doesn't mean it's like, I'm so madly in love with you. It could even just be like, yo, I kind of like you, or I'm kind of attracted to you, or, you know, I kind of wish things worked out better. Like, you know, even in that kind of realm, even if it's minor, all right? We're also going to have better insight on our emotions that have been getting the best of us. Uranus has been creating some funky aspects for a couple months now, more like 6 weeks. Excuse me. And it's been causing tension because we've been wanting this freedom for a while and it's just been building and building and building. And we're getting to these peak points of like needing it now and like wanting to explode a little bit. But Pisces is going to help us understand that a little bit better. And it's also going to bring that sense of calm because we have the understanding. When we understand things, we're usually not aggravated, right? It's like what causes aggravation, irritation, and frustration? It's when things don't make sense. Right? That's when people freak out, when things don't make sense or there's so much unknown going on. This is going to allow us to really have a lot of understanding of our own shit and how other people are reacting and why they're reacting. You're going to feel better, I promise. Now, let's get into the grand Earth trine. This is the manifestation stuff. So this trine is also aspecting Virgo and Mercury. Wow, Mercury and Virgo, excuse me. Mercury, Virgo is like heavy magician energy, right? So let's get into the trine. The trine is Sun, Virgo, trine Uranus, retrograding in Taurus, trine Jupiter, retrograding in Capricorn, okay? Jupiter is expansion. It's also that luck and fortune, and Jupiter also really helps a lot with manifestation. So not only do you have like hardcore magician energy that's aspecting this trine, but you also have magician energy within this trine, and the trine itself is magician energy. You see what I'm saying? It's like manifestation upon manifestation upon manifestation is available to us through this full moon, so please don't miss out on that, okay? I will be doing ritual recommendations on my Patreon tonight at 7 p.m. Pacific. To be a patron, you don't have to like sign up for a tier, and like those videos I do, like the spreads, the ritual recommendations are pretty new. This is actually the first one I'm gonna do. But yeah, those I allow any patron to watch, even if like they're not part of a tier. Okay, so just so you guys know. So before we get into the energy of it, let's talk about where to manifest with this, okay? So it's a trine, so it has all the earth signs going on in it, okay? We have Taurus, keep calling it Mercury. We have Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. So this is where I'm gonna say check your houses, because this is where the manifestation energy is really gonna help you, okay? Really gonna help you a little bit more than if you tried to manifest something out of like a fire house for you. A fire-ruled house is what probably the best way to say that. So look for where 10 to 20 degrees, I say 10 to 20 because of where these planets are. 10 to 20 degrees, earth signs, your houses, okay? For where you want to manifest this. Now, I will say, because we have so many Capricorn placements that are creating a lot of other aspects that are connected to this trine, I would focus on your Capricorn house. And I'll also explain a little bit why that is also a thing in a bit. But yeah, 10 to 20 degrees, earth signs. Your houses, not your planets, your houses, okay? So let's get into this grand trine. So I already explained why it's like manifestation upon manifestation upon manifestation, but because you also have that Uranus aspect, you're also gonna have, your manifestations are gonna be fulfilled very unexpectedly, very, very fast, like very fast manifestation, or if you were trying to manifest something from the new moon in Pisces back in February, it's really likely to be fulfilled now. with this full moon in Pisces. It's kind of like the new moons and full moons work. So if you set an intention for a new moon, the full moon of that sign, it's like you're likely to see it or get more clarity on why it didn't happen, right? If it's not happening, sometimes our manifestations don't work because they're not in our highest good, or it works against us and we don't realize it, right? So just something else to note about manifestation. Also, because of this mercurial component, we have Mercury in Virgo, which is actually trine Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn. You see what I mean about all this Capricorn energy, right? So because of that, visualization is going to be a really key part of this manifestation power. Use visualization. If you're not used to using it, try it. It's just really going to help with this particular trine, okay? Now, I know a lot of you are going to ask, like, well, what should I manifest with this? It's really based off the houses where you have these earth signs sitting, especially Capricorn. But I mean, very, very general, just going off the energy of Virgo, Taurus, and Capricorn within itself. That's money, that's health, that's stability, that's abundance. Could even be like household stuff, resilience and strength, even like wisdom if you want to manifest. I don't think you can manifest wisdom. That's just like life experience. Or anything in the realm of your career as well, or investments. Very, very general, but of course it depends on your houses. Health is going to be a big one for people this full moon, because of all the Virgo energy and Pisces, because Pisces is illness and Virgo is health and the house of losses, right? So health is gonna be a big one for people, or like loss of money is gonna be a big one for people. It's like trying to manifest more money and more abundance. Again, very general, but it has to be according to your own houses, okay? Now, again, let's focus with Capricorn. This is also why I say this. Saturn and Capricorn. Saturn is, I call it the master maker. Wherever you've been struggling with Saturn, because Saturn's the teacher, it teaches you through discipline, through pressure, through obstacles. That is how we learn. That is how we grow, right? I mean, we don't grow when things are like hunky-dory and we don't really have to do much. We grow when we struggle. So wherever Saturn's been transiting for you in your houses, which is in Capricorn, and you probably were feeling this in 2019, but really feeling it this year. Excuse me, sorry, coffee. Saturn's been teaching you. Saturn's been applying pressure and restriction and obstacles. It's been hard. So check your houses. If you've never checked your houses before, and you look where Saturn's been transiting it, which again would be in Capricorn, all right, late degrees, like 20 to 30 degrees is where you've probably been feeling it the most. You're going to realize like, oh, that has been a really hard part of my life recently. This is actually a time where you can get a little bit of a reward from Saturn and from all the hard work you've been doing in that house. Now, if you've been slacking off and you haven't really been learning your lessons, you might not really get a reward. You might actually get even tougher obstacles in your way in that aspect of your life because you're not learning. But if you've been learning, this is a time to really get a reward from it because it's actually aspecting this trine very heavy, okay? So that's why I say focus on where Capricorn sits for this manifestation, but of course take into account Virgo and Taurus, all right? 10 to 20 degrees. Okay. There's more. We're like almost halfway. I know it's a lot. I was looking at all the aspects and I was like, holy shit, there's a lot of aspects this time. Okay, so let's get into breaking patterns and closing cycles. So in general, like I said, this woman is in Pisces. It's 12th house energy that will help with closing things out because it kind of puts our focus there anyway. So this is focusing on Mercury in Virgo. So the aspects that Mercury and Virgo is creating, it's creating a sextile of Venus and Cancer, and it's creating a trine with Saturn and Pluto. You tend to see the theme of Capricorn with Saturn and Pluto all over the place, right? So those are aspects that Mercury is creating. So with everything I'm about to tell you, this is where you can close out some major patterns, bad habits, and cycles in your life that you've had trouble closing out. Again, check your houses for this. Got your pen and paper? Okay. Capricorn and Cancer, 20 to 30 degrees. I'll wait. I love you guys. I really wanted to do this live. Like when I was like getting ready and sitting down, I was like, oh, it feels like I'm supposed to do this live, but I really don't have the time today. Sorry. And Virgo's at 24 degrees. So I always like to give a little range because energy's energy. It's not fluid. It's not super fixed, right? We can quantify it, but it doesn't mean that it stays there. You know what I mean? So Mercury's at 24 degrees. So I would look at where you have, I keep calling Mercury. Virgo's at 24 degrees for Mercury placement. So I would look at 20 to 25 degrees for that. For where you're going to be able to break patterns and cycles. Again, to reiterate before I get into it, Capricorn, Cancer, 20 to 30 degrees. Virgo, about 20 to 25 degrees because it's at 24, okay? All right, Now let's get into it. So these aspects are going to get urges and opportunities to take care of domestic matters or try something new in the realm of domestic matters and even relationships. If you're willing to break patterns within these relationships or within these domestic matters, you're going to have success. But it has to be something new. You can't, like, it's that saying, it's like, if you do something the same way over and over and over and expect a different result, that's insanity. It's not going to happen, right? It's matters and issues within your relationships and domestic matters, family matters, parental matters, that sort of stuff, okay? Again, your cycles, your bad habits, your patterns. If you want to break these, you have to do it differently. But this energy is saying, if you do try to look at things differently, to speak differently, engage with people differently, act differently with this, you can actually break some like really deeply embedded cycles very easily, okay? Now, hard work to shift perspective, to have a healthier and more evolved way of thinking, being will pay off. So kind of like what I already reiterated. When I looked at it, I was like, I kind of already said this, I'll just like spit it out. So again, hard work to shift your perspective, it will pay off. You just got to put the effort there. Saturn's urging you to put effort there, okay? Now with this, the only thing to be careful of is Mars. I'm going to talk a lot about Mars at the end of this video because of how it affects the next couple months. So Mars right in this full moon is square Saturn, which, as you heard with the breaking patterns and cycles, Saturn is also a part of that too. So that's why I'm saying be careful of what I'm about to say, because what I'm about to talk about with Mars and Aries, that can cause a little bit more of a hard time with breaking out some of these patterns, okay? So Saturn causes delays and restriction. It puts pressure on us so we can adapt, we can grow, we can learn, we can evolve, right? But it's square Mars and Aries. Mars and Aries does not like to be restricted for shit. Mars and Aries likes to be free to do whatever the hell it wants to. You know what I mean? So as we get like delays and restrictions and things that we want to see progress in, you might become frustrated. You might even become angry. But if you let that get to you, you're going to have some consequences for that. But if you just kind of recognize, oh, okay, I'm being restricted right now. This has been held up right now. I can't do anything about it. It is what it is. Let me adapt. Keep your motivation for Mars and Aries. Keep your motivation and drive. Just adapt to the blockage that's coming up in front of you. Adapt to the delay. Adapt to the restriction. Okay, that's really going to help you. Just don't let it get the best of you. Yes, this is also an aspect that's going to be bringing up issues of authority and control. And again, wanting that freedom. There's that theme of wanting freedom, right? So again, just be very cautious of this. It's about your reaction. You don't have to like get upset, angry, throw a fit. It's really how you manage and control yourself. And Mars retrograding in Aries, which I will talk about, is really going to help us learn that lesson even more. All right. More freedom is what I'm calling this next section. More freedom. Now this is more about Venus. Okay. It does have the same effect on cycles that can be broken. It's like, it's that same range because it's Capricorn and Cancer, 20 to 30 degrees. So again, the houses where you're likely to break patterns and cycles is the same house where you're going to be feeling more and more of this sense of like personal freedom and independence. But specifically, this is within relationships and the family. Okay. And that Mars aspect with Aries also likely to affect this as well. It's the same range, so it's also likely to affect this. Anyway, sorry, talking a lot. So a couple aspects that Venus is creating. So you can tell so many freaking aspects. Venus in Cancer is square Mars and Aries. But Venus in Cancer is also opposing Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn. Again, this whole Saturn-Pluto theme through this whole thing, right? So this is going to cause relationships, but especially relationships that are like domestic, career, or lifelong relationships that have dynamics already existing of control issues or some kind of like codependency, like one's dominant, one just kind of submits, but it's like extreme, it's not healthy. Those are going to be really, really strained at this time, but there's a reason for it. It's to learn and to grow. Because if you have a relationship like that that has an unhealthy component, it's got to be resolved anyway, right? So we're going to have this with with these kinds of relationships, you're gonna have this push and pull of like one person wanting to be really nurtured and loved and recognized. The other one's gonna be like wanting to dominate, call the shots, be really independent, all in the name of their own personal freedom. There is also a sense of superiority that comes with that dynamic. So again, this could really be happening in the work relationships, your lifelong relationships, your domestic relationships, and of course your romantic ones as well, but more in like the long-term relationships that affect your personal foundation, which also why work is in there, okay? You're also gonna have issues of emotional insecurity, not feeling safe within your home, yourself, relationships. You're also gonna have a lot of criticism of yourself or others. But again, it's all how you choose to deal with this energy. If you recognize the stuff is coming up, it's to learn from it. It's to grow from it. And we already have aspects that are helping us to break cycles, and it affects the same houses. This should affect your same house as the one that you're trying to break cycles and patterns in. So if you have patterns or cycles of being really dominant with people, superiority complex, wanting to control shit, or being really insecure, really codependent, it's time to break that. It's gonna come up, it's gonna aggravate you, it's gonna be really obvious, break it. Energy's here to break that shit once and for all, okay? Okay, now let's get into information outside of the full moon in Pisces. This is like stuff coming up between the peak of the full moon in Pisces and the new moon in Virgo. So we have a couple transits that I really want to talk about. We have Mercury going to Libra, Libra, and Venus going into Leo. I think Mercury goes into Libra on the 5th. Venus goes into Leo the day after on the 6th of September. I love this energy because Libra and Leo really can work well together. Libra and Leo, they like to feel good. They like to feel good, and they both like the spotlight. So with Mercury and Venus, and of course this depends on your houses, where Libra and Leo falls in your houses, please check that for yourself, or you're gonna feel this energy, because Libra and Leo can really create a lot of cool shit together. So if this falls in a house of like creation or work or your vocation, or aesthetics, it's like a house that relates to that, it's time to create, it's time to get busy, it's time to get motivated and like put projects into play. Now, if it falls in like relationship house, there's gonna be a lot of romantic energy, a lot of warm fuzzies, a lot of like, let's really feel good. Be careful, it can get kind of lusty, right? So if you have an issue being a little too, and like, I don't feel like it's weird saying that that's an issue. Just be careful of lust. Be careful of lust, be careful of just having a relationship just for sex, unless it's something you want, okay? To each their own, but it depends on where in your houses Libra and Leo are falling, okay? Now, of course, if you have any planets in any of these placements, you're just gonna feel it more, but for where it affects you personally, you have to look at your houses, not your planets, okay? Now, let's talk about Mars retrograding Aries. Something we've all been talking about for a while. So this is happening on September 9th, a few days after Mercury and Venus shift. Now, Mars has been in Aries for a while. For the entirety of how long Mars has been in Aries, it's going to be a 6-month period. Mars retrogrades on the 9th, it goes direct in November, and then it finally shifts, I believe, in December, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong about that, but I think it finally shifts in December. It's a long time for Mars to be in Aries. Now, at that same time, we have a lot of Capricorn placements going on. Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto in Capricorn, in and out of Capricorn for this whole like recent year, right? So Aries can square Capricorn. So that's why like, we were talking about like a Mars is gonna square Saturn during this full moon. Well, for the next couple months through December, until Saturn and Jupiter go into Aquarius in mid-December, 17th and 19th, if I'm not mistaken, Mars is gonna square those planets. Periodically, it's gonna go in and out of squaring Jupiter, of squaring Saturn. I don't know if it's gonna square Pluto. It might square Pluto. Pluto goes direct October 4th, but it's going to stay in Capricorn for a couple more years, I think till 2024, if I'm not mistaken. So with Mars and Aries squaring all these Capricorn planets for the next couple of months, that is creating that very hostile, dominating, I want to control, I want to control, I want to control, but I want to be free, I want to be free, I want to be free. So you're experiencing on both sides of the table where people maybe wanting to control you are really exerting their dominance with you. Of course, we're seeing this in society. We're seeing this on the global stage of this restriction on our freedoms, right? Restriction on even just physical freedoms, not just emotional and financial freedom is part of it, but also very physical freedom, right? And Mars in Aries wants to be free. Mars in Aries wants to do whatever the hell it wants, doesn't want to answer to anybody, doesn't want to explain itself, especially if this is happening in the workplace for you on a personal level, more so than just the collective and what we're experiencing. So that energy is going to be around for a while. It's that whole, I'm going to restrict you, I'm going to cause delays, I'm going to make you feel like you can't do anything, when all you want to do is break out and be super free and be super independent, be very loud about it, right? So again, that's the energy that's at play. Just be very careful with this energy in your personal life. Recognize when you're falling into that push-pull, tension-filled energy, because it just really causes a lot of aggravation and a lot of anger and a lot of resentment. And it also leans towards, when we fall into that, like we're not really thinking clearly, and so we're not acting out of our best interest anymore because we're not thinking clearly on it, right? So just check yourself with that. Now, as far as it affecting your life from everything that's going on, the pandemic and the dismantling of the paradigm, check where Aries and Capricorn 20 to 30 degrees falls in your houses. Those are your houses where you're going to be personally impacted by the dismantling. I'm going to say that one more time. Aries, Capricorn, 20 to 30 degrees, check your houses. That is where you will personally be affected by the dismantling of the paradigm until through from now to December. Okay. Now that that's been said, now let's talk about Mars retrograding in Aries. So Mars is going to be retrograde in Aries from the 9th of September to about, I think, November 13th. Do I have it written down here? Oh, I do. November 13th. So what happens with retrogrades? Like I always say, retrogrades are not bad. It's a time of review. It's a time of evolution and improvement and growth if you just surrender to the energy and let shit happen the way it's supposed to, okay? Now with Mars retrograding in Aries, it's going to be an internalization of wanting to take action, of anger, of frustration, of wanting to be proactive. And so as we have all this like square with the Capricorn planets making us feel like we can't do anything, we might all of a sudden feel like we actually can't. We might all of a sudden feel like we actually can't say that thing. We actually can't go and do that thing. We can't go and create or sign up that thing when we really, really, really want to. Especially as we have Mercury and Venus bring in that Leo Libra energy that's going to make us want to do that. That retrograde energy is going to make us pull back a little bit. Like, damn, I really want to create all these things. I feel like I can't. I feel like I can't say this thing. I can't sign up for that thing. That's the time to just sit with it. Sit with it. Sit with your creative ideas. Sit with how you take action. Like, how do you usually approach things with people? How do you usually approach projects? How do you usually take the lead? How do you usually stand up for yourself? How do you usually act out in an aggressive way with people when you need to, right? Those are all things that are going to be under review and improvement with this Mars retrograde Aries energy. So if you aren't aware of this energy, or you're not changing or evolving with this energy, you're going to feel powerless. You're going to have energy of feeling very resentful, very anxiety ridden, very fearful, also just very rageful and like very just like and really restless. But if you recognize that it's like, oh, I want to do this, but maybe I need another approach. Maybe I need to do things differently, the way I approach people, or the way I take action, the way I stand up for myself. I'm also hearing the word, that's weird, I'm already getting a channeling. I'm hearing the word protect. Maybe the way you protect other people or protect yourself. It's that masculine energy. So this is something I've also been talking about for a while. This whole year has been a heavy focus on masculine energy because it does relate to patriarchal energy and that whole dismantling. But in the grand scheme of things, it's just time for masculine energy to go to a level of evolution. And masculine energy, I don't just mean men or like males. It's energy. We all have masculine, let's see the light change. We all have masculine, feminine energy, right? So it's happening within ourselves and within our relationships with other people. People who really sit in their masculine energy, or who really haven't worked on their masculine energy. Again, masculine is just a label. It's just a label for the parts of ourselves of how we take action and protect and provide and make shit happen, all of that stuff, right? Very physical. But anyone who hasn't really been working on that at all, you're really gonna feel this, and it's a time to surrender to the process. That's it. It's making masculine energy healthier and more evolved, coming from a higher dimension, coming from a higher frequency, really. We're all going to see this on the global stage, within ourselves and within our relationships with other people, okay? There's going to be a period of feeling powerless, or feeling like lacking confidence, like you can't do anything. Like there might even be some self-worth stuff wrapped up in that. But then there needs to be the work done on this realization of, oh, there's a better way to do things. There's a healthier way to protect people. There's a healthier way. God, the light changes. So crazy. There's a better way to provide for myself, to provide for others. There's a better way. There's a better way. So hang in there with this energy, because as we feel the pressure from all the Capricorn planets, it's going to make it a little harder to see that for what it is. And we're all humans. Like when this gets hard for some of you, just remember, just remember, this has helped me grow. This has helped me to evolve. This has helped me to look at myself and how I express my anger, my desires, my emotion, how I go after shit, how I maybe don't even go after shit, right? A lot of this is actually going to help you with your own confidence and your own self-worth and getting shit done and making things happen for yourself. Yeah, so just keep that in mind. A cool thing though about this Mars retrograde in Aries energy, I feel like when we come out of it, I feel like we're gonna have a lot of cool stuff come out of it as far as like new perspectives, and even the way we treat each other I think is going to be different. How we come up with plans, how we tackle plans individually is going to be different, and I really think we're going to see that play out in the collective more so in 2021, but it's going to be born during this time, which is kind of cool. Okay. Oh yeah, so that's it, I think. Yes. That is it. I hope that you guys enjoyed this. I have no idea what time it is right now. Hold on. Oh, duh, I forgot my phone's right here. Yeah, so I'm going to be, it's about 11:30 right now. So in about an hour, I'll be live on Patreon to do the spreads for the full moon in Pisces. I usually do 3 spreads if anyone's wondering. I am also going to do a ritual recommendation on my Patreon in the same manner I do the spreads. I was debating if I'm going to do it for YouTube. I'm still debating if I'm going to do it for YouTube and just do a Q&A for Patreon. Still debating on that, but for this time around, I think I might just do it for Patreon this time. Might adapt it for later. Any of you wanting to sign up for Patreon, I would suggest waiting till the 1st. I realize today's the 31st, but I would suggest waiting till the 1st or the 2nd, because it charges people on the 1st no matter when you sign up, which I think is kind of crazy, but I can't change that. That's like all a Patreon thing. And thank you guys for coming out, for hanging out with me, supporting me. And I will see you guys very soon. I love you guys. Take care. Have a good night. Namaste.